Hey friend, Graham here from recordingrevolution.com, and today let's talk about reverb on vocals. In this video, I'm going to break down the main types of reverbs and how to quickly cycle through them and get a good sound, and also the best way to use reverb plugins in your mix. So there's two ways to do it, and one way is a lot more effective and more flexible than the other way. I want to show you how to do that as well. So this will be great for you if you're brand new to reverb and brand new to mixing. This will also be a great refresher for you if you don't tend to use reverb in your mixes, but you want to start using reverb. This will break it down for you. The only caveat I will say is you don't always need reverb on your vocals. There is a distinct style of dry vocals, and I think that's a great way to go. But when you want that sense of space on your vocal, you want that sense of it being in a larger room than it was probably recorded in, aka your bedroom or closet, then reverb is going to be the way to go. And you can do these techniques with any stock reverb plugin that came with your software. You don't need to buy another reverb to do this. So here's a track where I've got the vocal. It's two vocal tracks together. One is clean, one's dirty. That's the vocal sound, but it's very dry.
I say, come on now, feet get moving straight up and down. Cause when the floorboards shake with the secrets, you gotta push with the layers. You gotta work it out. If you get hot in the back, you can shine in the front. Get down. Just once the floorboards shake with the
All right, so the vocal is kind of just, it was tracked and it needs to have a little bit of sense of space. So now what most people do is they grab a reverb plugin and they put it right on the track. So they would go to their vocal track and they would look for their default plugin in this case, it would be Reverb, and they would slap it on and start messing with effects. But this isn't the most optimal way to do it for two reasons. One, you're backing yourself into a corner. You don't have a lot of flexibility, and I'll show you that in a minute. And two, you're going to drain your computer's resources because if you want to use reverb on another track, you're going to have to open up another reverb. And if you want reverb on a different track, you're going to have to open up another reverb plugin. And reverb plugins tend to be CPU hogs. They tend to take a lot of computer power. So you're starting to drop in multiple reverbs if you want 2 or 3 or 4 tracks to have reverb. There's a way to use one reverb plugin on all of the tracks you need and still have customization of amount of reverb and flexibility. And the way to do that is to open up a reverb on a separate track, an auxiliary track, or a bus. So instead of putting it on my vocal track, I'm going to open up a new track here. I'm going to make it a stereo aux input in Pro Tools. This could be a stereo group track or a stereo bus, depending on the language that your software uses. I'm going to call it Reverb. I'm going to solo safe it by holding Command and clicking. That way, this track is always soloed, even if I solo the vocal. And I'm going to make sure the output is going to my mix bus where everything else is going. So it's all routed correctly. Now what I want to do is put the reverb plugin here on this track. So I'm going to grab Reverb, which is the stock reverb in Pro Tools. And if you've got a wet or dry knob, which you probably will on your reverb, you want to make this 100% wet because this will be a completely affected track, okay? None of the original raw signal, just the wet reverb affected signal. If you have a preset, it sets it somewhere here, you want to slide the slider all the way to wet. Now we're set up for the most part. What we got to do though is get some of our vocals into the reverb. Because by default, this vocal is going to go straight to my mix bus. So this is where a send would come into play. A send is just a helpful way to send audio to different places in the mix. So yeah, my output is already going to send it to the output, but let's send a copy somewhere else as well as the output. Let's send it to my reverb track. There it is. And what this gives us is a new fader that we can pull up a little bit. And this is now a copy of the vocal going to this green track here to be washed in some reverb. So I'll solo it. I'll actually, what I'm going to do is take off my group track and just focus on one track for now. Let's take a listen.
I said, come on now, feet get moving straight up and down.
Okay, now we've got reverb happening. But it's not happening on the raw track. If I mute the reverb track,
I said, come on now, feet get moving straight up and down. 'Cause when the floorboards shake with the secrets, you gotta push with it.
All right. Now we have it set up correctly. This is the best way to set it up, where you have a reverb track and then you sends on whatever vocal, instrument, whatever you want to have a little bit of reverb on. You can send it to that same reverb, and then I can have a little bit of reverb.
I said, come on now, feet get moving.
You barely hear the tail, or a lot of reverb. Crank it up.
I said, come on now, feet get moving.
And that's independent of any of the other tracks. So now you have that flexibility that I was talking about. Okay, now that you understand the flexibility part, let's look at the different types of reverb you have. So by default, you might see some settings like hall or church or plate or room or ambient or whatever. A lot of reverbs are going to have some of those similar types, and these are some of the big ones. I think plate reverbs are a great place to start. If you're brand new, grab a plate and see what it sounds like.
I said, come on now, feet get moving straight up and down.
Right? It's just going to give you that nice sense of ambience. It's not too overwhelming, not too dramatic or too over the top. And obviously you might, be able to play with small, medium, or large. These are just making the decay time shorter. So this reverb has some buttons that kind of do that for you. So I could have a medium plate quickly.
I said, come on now, feet get moving.
So I like plates. I think it's a great place to start. Then my other favorite are room reverbs. Take a listen to this.
I said, come on now, feet get moving straight.
So that's a little bit different. It's a lot like a plate, but it feels more like a real room. You have a small room.
I said, come on now, feet get moving.
See how the decay is shorter? You can tell you're in a smaller room.
I said, come on now, feet get moving straight.
Versus a larger room.
I said, come on now, feet get moving straight.
Right, it just has a longer wash because it's in a larger room. So I'm a big fan of plates as a starting point and rooms as a starting point. If you really want to go crazy, aka have a more clearly affected sound, halls are a great way to go.
I said, come on now, feet get moving straight up and down.
Nothing wrong with that if it's appropriate for the song. But if you want a subtle sense of width, if you want to take your dry little bedroom or closet or home studio vocal and give it a sense of like space, like it was tracked in a nice drum room or a nice live tracking room, then a plate or a room would be a great place to start, maybe like a medium plate or a medium room. But I want to give you an extra tip too, and that is look for any kind of filters that you have on your Reverb plugin. These are mini EQs built into your reverb, and a lot of reverb plugins have something at least like a high frequency cut. This is a filter at the top end that can roll off some of the top end to sort of make the reverb a little less digital, a little less crispy, and a little more muted, which I think can sound a little more natural. So let's experiment with that.
I said, come on now, feet get moving straight up and down.
A little bit better. Same thing here as a low pass filter. I don't know why both are here. They both are doing the same thing. LP filter is the same as a AHF filter. It's so funny.
I said, come on now, feet get moving straight up and down. 'Cause when the floorboards shake with the secrets, you gotta put.
All right, it's a little better, so I could roll it off a little bit more. Just gets rid of some of that high-frequency nastiness in a digital reverb. What I'm going to do is copy this reverb send by option clicking and dragging over to my vocal dirty track, because these are really in tandem for the vocal sound.
I said, come on now, feet get moving straight up and down. 'Cause when the floorboards shake with the secrets, you gotta push with the legs. You gotta work it out. If you get hot in the back, you can shine in the front, get down. 'Cause once the floorboards shake with the secrets, you gotta tangle in your backbone. Got me saying, baby, maybe there's a fire burning under.
Right, so now that vocal just has a lot more room sound. It fits the drums because the drums were tracked in a room, and now the vocal fits that a little bit more, and it's got that sense of space. And all from using one simple reverb plugin. Notice how we were able to send the other vocal track to the same reverb without having to open up a second reverb plugin, and that will save power. So in review, vocal reverb is a real simple technique to get some width, to get a little bit of sense of space, make it sound like you tracked in a real studio. But the key is to open that reverb plugin on a separate track, an auxiliary input or a bus or a group track, and then use a send to send a little bit of the vocals to that reverb. Start with a plate, start with a room, roll off some top end, and just blend it all together until you get that sense of space that you want to keep it nice and subtle. Or ignore subtlety altogether, put on a hall or a church, crank it up, and just wash that thing in reverb. Hopefully this gives you something to think about when you're using reverb on your vocal tracks in your next mix. Now, before you go, I want to give you something additionally that will help you as you're making records and making music in your home studio. When you're stuck and you don't know why your track doesn't sound quite as good as it could, or why it's not holding up against maybe something you hear on the radio or something you're listening to right now on Spotify that you really, really like, it's probably because you're missing a few of the steps in the song creation process. What I've done is analyzed every record that's really, really good, all the big ones, all the ones I love. And after years of just listening to records and making records and being in studios, you can break down the song creation process into 6 distinct steps that every great song goes through. And if you skip one of these steps, your song is going to be missing something. And so it's nice for people like me that are linear because it really is a linear path, whether people are realizing it or not. And what I've done is put those 6 steps together into a simple PDF guide. It's called my 6 Steps to a Radio Ready Song Guide as a resource for you, because I thought it'd be really helpful for you so that you're not just sitting around saying, yeah, let's record a bit or let's mix a bit and hope it sounds good. You have a map to go from point A to point B, from song idea all the way through this kind of stuff, the mixing process, all the way to releasing it in a fully mastered version that's ready to go, where it's going to sound worthy enough to be on the radio, sonically speaking. That's the goal, right? For us to make stuff that sounds really, really good. We feel really, really proud of it. So this is my gift to you to kind of help you go a little deeper. It's absolutely free. Just go to radioreadyguide.com. I'm going to put the link here for you, and it's in the description box. RadioReadyGuide.com. It's a simple PDF. Download it. Go through all 6 steps. You're going to have tips, tricks, and best practices for all 6 of these steps. The reverb thing falls in one of those steps, which is the mixing step, but that's just one of 6. So I'll walk you through the whole process. And then, like I said, since it's an easy read, a lot of my students are printing it up and like taping it to their desk as like a reference point, or keeping it on their tablet or phone right where they're mixing or working a record. So you can call it up whenever you're starting to make music and reference where are you in that process, which step are you on, what to do next, and make sure you don't miss anything. Again, it's my gift to you at radioreadyguide.com. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing to these videos, and thanks for the comments and the shares and the thumbs up. It means a lot. I'm hoping to help you out as much as I can every single week. Have fun with Reverb today and whenever you're watching this, and I'll see you on another video real soon.